the Freeborn County Historical Museum, Library, and Village. My name is Stephanie Kibler, the director here at the museum, with Risha Lilienthal, who is the coordinator of our exhibits and collections. Today we're featuring the whiskey sour.
Yes, I love whiskey sour.
I've never had a whiskey sour.
My favorite whiskey sour is the one that my brother Michael does.
And he does, from what I understand, a current version.
Different. Yeah, it's there's a current one, and then there's kind of one in between the older one.
I found about 5 recipes as we were going through this. The one we're doing is considered the original recipe.
From the 1800s, like 1862?
1862, yes. It's interesting because, now that spring's here, you'll see the bartenders are switching from those cold weather drinks.
Oh, sure.
And more into the springy, summery,
almost citrusy.
Citrusy kind of drinks, and I guess that's, all our palates coming up. We like to hydrate. We did talk about farmers and their lemonade a few times ago. And so some historians think that the sour category derived from the punch.
Oh, yeah.
Because the punch was a thing in the 1700s.
And before, that was the original.
So we had Kim here with Grandma's Gourmet, who did milk punch, which was very tasty. To be honest, I didn't expect to like that one.
Oh.
Well, milk punch. That doesn't sound good, but it was
Sounds
really
creamy,
good.
Which it was kind of creamy.
Yeah,
It
but
was very nice.
Yeah. It was good. I thought this was interesting because it said it's a scaled down version of the basic punch, but it has the elements: 1 sour, 2 sweet, 3 strong, 4 weak. Oh, that's kind of a cute little. That's everything a classic punch has.
Very nice.
But in individual serving size, it said. So like a punch, you make a
big
vat.
That takes a long time. You better be making
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, that takes weeks.
Yeah.
Then the base to a sour, to all sours, is the dominant flavor is the liquor.
Oh.
Whether it doesn't matter what you're using, but that is the dominant flavor is always the base spirit.
Okay.
Sugar needs the juice and water, and the soda helps dissolve the sugar. Nice little chemistry kind of thing there, maybe. I don't know. This recipe was first written down in 1862 in the Bartender's Guide by Jerry Thomas, who we refer to quite often. But the basic recipe was known for over a century prior, and it had a lot to do with lacking of refrigeration and sea travel, where water was kind of yucky.
Another one with scurvy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they talked about limeys and scurvy.
Oh my goodness.
But if you don't know what we're talking about, go back to
the
gimlet and to the was it the gin and tonic that also has the lime?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And those were both very good. And they talked about, so like traveling, if you traveled across the US, you could stop and get your supplies and so it wasn't such a big deal, but if you were going by sea, that's really where the scurvy and everything comes from, those sailors.
Lack of the good vitamins that
Yes.
you needed.
Yes, and bad water. The good vitamins and the bad water. Okay, so should we start our original recipe and then visit?
Yes.
So it's a large teaspoonful of powdered sugar. Yeah, I think so, don't you think?
It's heaping.
Dissolved in a little seltzer, which we're using ours is a little lemon flavored, only because that's what I had in the fridge.
Well, that works because you're putting lemons in. Ooh.
You could use a spoon there and stir.
Industrial.
One of these historic tools we've got. You might need a little more seltzer than that, I'm thinking. Is it dissolving?
Yeah, I think so.
It's interesting. I see.
It's at least getting wet.
Yeah? Probably. Ooh, yeah, probably not. That should probably do it.
Okay.
Listen to it. It's fizzing. Oh, that's interesting. Oh.
And then what?
The juice. So we're gonna mix it in here. This one throws me because this recipe, you know, usually it's 1, 2, 3, and this
Yeah.
one's a little, I guess because it's from 1862.
Well, it's because we're using a lot of people changed it to a
Simple syrup.
simple syrup instead of
Right,
just the powdered
but
sugar.
this
that we
original
dissolve.
one was the powdered
Yeah.
sugar. So I'm going to assume that it says to fill the glass. So we filled our shaker because we're going to mix it in the shaker. So we're going to add that in and then add a juice of half a small lemon. And this is the one that's throwing me, you guys. I'm not going to lie. And then it calls for 1 wine glass of bourbon or rye whiskey. So we're mixing in 1 wine glass. We're going to share this one.
I flattened it. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay.
And now try to pour that in there.
You need a funnel here. Woo!
Oh, see, good thing I poured tall. Ooh.
was
So,
doing all
and then
right.
it says to shake and strain, but I'm wondering, do we want to shake or do we want to stir?
You can shake it.
You think you have enough room to shake? It looks a little,
We've shaken
looks
with
a
fuller.
little, if we, looks a little tight there. The other thing that I thought was interesting, you can add an egg to this,
Yeah, I did see that.
which makes it frothy, but, I got the impression that came later.
Mm,
That
oh, yes.
wasn't part of the original.
Well, and also, didn't you say that they don't recommend you serve the ones with eggs to people under 5 years old?
Yeah, that is actually part of the. It is not recommended that a child under the age of 5 have raw eggs when they're having their whiskey sour. I don't know.
Is that it?
That's it. You pour in there, and then we top that off. I loved this. Ornament with berries. But everything I saw was not a berry, it was a cherry.
Yeah, I kept seeing them with cherries too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never had a.
You,
What's happening?
you got a ways to go there. You just are you're so worried about you're getting more even Steven. This is what happens when you grow up with brothers.
Yep. With 3 older brothers.
Yeah, she's worried about her fair share. And then you plop one of each of those in there.
Ooh. These are really good cherries.
Yes, those are very good. We did those when we did the Pink Ladies with Jenna Thompson at Daisy Blue, and yes, she definitely turned us on to something really good there. All right, I don't know. Looks kind of pretty with the cherry juice that dropped to the bottom. So that's a whiskey sour, folks. All right, cheers. Hope it tastes good. Huh. Well, that wouldn't be my drink of choice. Now, I'm going to guess the simple syrup makes it sweeter.
Probably. That's probably why I like it. Like, this is good. I still like this as a whiskey sour. But my brother Michael, the way he makes it, he was on with the old fashioned. We're just shouting out all of our guests.
We're going to get some new guests.
Yeah. He does 3 parts whiskey, 2-part lemon juice, and 1 part simple syrup.
You mean he doesn't just pour a wine glass of whiskey?
I know. He actually does mix pretty strong sometimes, but no, not the whole wine glass.
I can actually taste the powdered sugar, which is, I've never had powdered sugar in a cocktail before.
Oh.
At least not that I know of. Interesting. So while we were looking this up, we kind of happened across Dorothy Parker.
Yeah.
Who, to be honest, I had never heard of. Who was a member of and I do this wrong every time, the Algonquin
No, you did it right.
Round Table.
Yeah. But why are we connecting her to this?
Well, I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay,
It's her
continue
favorite
then.
drink.
Yes.
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 Just jumping into my stuff here. So she was a poet and a short story writer.
Yeah.
And known for her wit and satire. And as I kind of delved into her, she's fascinating. She's a little dark. She's a little silly. And I think, what did I say earlier? she's a gal who could hang with the guys. I just see her smoking a stogie and sitting around the Algonquin Round Table.
See, you've got it.
With Franklin Pierce Adams. Let's see. Ruth Hale, George Kaufman, Brock Pemberton, Murdoch Pemberton, Harold Ross, Robert Sherwood. These were all like publicists or playwrights or authors back in the day. They also occasionally had people that would float in and out of this group. Tallulah Bankhead.
What year was this? Like, what
Well,
years were these? Do you know?
So it must have been in the 19 teens because she was,
She was like Virginia Woolf kind of time period?
well, see, no, I don't know what Virginia Woolf's time period was.
That was
I do
Edwardian,
know.
so the teens.
Yeah, so it would be right in that time period. She sold her first poem to Vanity Fair in 1914, became a regular contributor to Vogue, and in 1917 took over P.G. Woodhouse's role as the theater critic for Vanity Fair. I wish I could inject cricket sound. Sorry. Here, I just totally lied. The group met from 1919 to 1929.
Oh, okay. So but was it in the U.S. then?
Yes.
Oh.
So the Round Table was a group of New York City writers, critics, and actors, and wits. They gathered initially as part of a practical joke. The members of the Vicious Circle, as they dubbed themselves initially,
Oh my God.
met for lunch each day at the Algonquin Hotel from 1919 to 1929. They engaged in wisecracks, wordplay, and witticisms.
But can you imagine being like in that group and just being like, I'm just the wit. That's all I am. I don't get any other title.
There's a restaurant up in Minneapolis called Emily's Lebanese.
Okay.
And it's been there forever. I couldn't, at least probably 50 years at least. I don't know. But it's a small little mom and pop kind of place. The food is excellent. And when I've gone in there for lunch, every time the same group of folks come in, and I just am thrilled if they pick a table next to me because their conversation is so good. And it is filled, what was this, with wisecracks, wordplay, and witticisms.
Nice.
And it's around everything from politics to what's happening in the neighborhood. It's just, and I just see
Sure.
these people
That
sitting
sounds
around.
kinda like them.
Yeah, would be the
Aw.
same thing. It just would be a lot of fun to sit there. I didn't say this though. I said Tallulah Bankhead. Noel Coward would sit in once in a while.
Wait.
Blythe Daly, Harpo Marx.
Noel Coward?
Yeah. She must like Noel Coward.
Well, Marion Ross loved him.
Well, I just thought that's a really interesting group of. So anyway, totally fascinated with Dorothy, and of her favorite cocktails, she said, it's a poem she wrote. I wish I could drink like a lady. I can take 1 or 2 at the most. 3 and I'm under the table. 4 and I'm under the host. That's kind of like what all her poetry is like. It's that.
I was about to say same, but I don't want to get in trouble with that.
Oh yeah,
last
don't say
line.
same.
Whoa.
I'd heard. I wonder if this is where there's a thing around martinis. 1, 2, 3, floor, which made me think of that too.
Tequila shots.
Probably any cocktail. 1, 2, 3, floor.
Yeah.
For me, it would.
Fair.
I could maybe do 4.
You could. You're pretty tolerant.
That'd be 1, 2, 3, floor, bed.
You go.
1, 2, 3, 4, bed. Anyway, I just thought I really thought that she was very interesting, and I'm thinking, God, I'd love to be at the round table, but at the very least at the table next.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you got over there?
Well, okay. I also
Smiley.
looked at somebody else whose favorite drink is the whiskey sour. Do you know what Tea Swizzle?
I don't know who that is.
Taylor Swift.
Oh, good grief.
Her
Really?
favorite drink
And
is a
you
whiskey
know,
sour.
I had heard that, but she's talking not the
No,
traditional.
she probably has the egg white in it.
And I know she's got simple syrup in hers.
Oh, probably. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought when I thought about her, then I thought, well, she started country and then went to pop.
Yeah.
We have somebody.
We do.
Eddie Cochran started country, went to rock.
Yeah.
So I thought about talking about some of the things about his musical career that aren't always, I guess, expanded upon. So he started rockabilly, country rockabilly, with Hank Cochran, who, if you don't know, he was not related to him. They met in California in 1954 and grouped together and were, they were making music and stuff. And Eddie Cochran was mainly on guitar. He only really did harmony. He didn't really sing in that group. And they got a record with Echo Records and started out their career that way.
Are there any songs from them that people would recognize? I didn't, but I can't think of what the names would be.
Recognize them. There's one that has Fly in it, but I don't remember the rest of them.
It was none that like popped, and none of them became big hits.
No, not really. And they continued with that record label for a while, and in 1956 was when Hank didn't sing as much of the lead, and Eddie Cochran started to sing a little bit more lead, and then that year they broke apart. And Eddie Cochran afterwards ended up becoming what they call the grandfather of punk.
Isn't that funny? Because I just I don't hear punk.
Well, and it comes from a lot of, they say, the powerful drum and bass sound that he did.
I can see that a little bit when I think of some of my favorite punk music. Yes, I can see that.
He was one of the first to kind of pull that through and popularize it.
Wouldn't it be great? Let's see, who's a really good punk band? I haven't listened to punk in such a long time. Golly, just have a really fabulous punk band do an Eddie Cochran hit.
Ooh, I'm pretty sure they have.
We'll have to Google that.
Yeah. But when he was with Hank, he was playing guitar mainly, and he had learned his first chords from his older brother, Bob. Otherwise, he was self-taught on guitar. And there's a quote that I have from the Guitar Inspirations saying, while others were still restricted by the concept of simulating the sound of a band live on stage, Eddie was fusing the sounds of the instruments together and altering the relative recording levels.
So he was a first
in
the field to do that.
So, because he knew how he wanted things to sound, and he could do it himself. So he would be on the drums, he would be on the guitar, he would be on the bass, and he would be singing. Because he wanted to produce the sound that he knew.
I wonder how much of that has to do with him being self-taught. He knew the sound.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't really know how to explain it to somebody who had been taught.
Right.
Yeah.
So I bet a lot of that was because he was self-taught.
Yeah, could be.
Interesting.
Could be. Yeah, he also used non-standard tunings, probably because, he was never really taught the tunings.
Right.
He's also credited as being one of the first guitarists to use an unwound third string, which is a technique to bend the notes up a tone.
Bend the notes.
Yeah. So,
I think I mentioned this earlier this week that I was sitting and watching a TV show and a commercial for s'mores came on. I think it's a Hershey commercial for s'mores. And all of a sudden I could hear Eddie Cochran in the back. I don't know if it's him actually. I heard the Eddie Cochran song, Come On Everybody. And I thought, oh, that's Eddie Cochran. Yeah. I think I said that out loud actually.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I went to T-Swizzle and then to Eddie Cochran.
T-Swizzle. She's such a little drama queen, that little Taylor Swift. I do like her music though. I do. She got a lot of grief when she switched it up a little bit and started the new stuff, but the new stuff is fun.
Well, and artists do that all the time.
She's Taylor Swift.
Shania Twain did it.
So, oh God, I love Shania Twain. I might need to get that downloaded. Man, I Feel Like a Woman. It's one of my favorite, right? Men's shirts, short skirts.
Now we turned into a concert.
Oh, goodness. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll perform the Go-Go's.
Oh, do I get to wear boots for that?
I wish I had go-go boots. I used to have go-go boots.
They're fun.
So I kind of started wondering, because I totally didn't focus on Freeborn County history as I was doing this. I had hoped to find a poet from Freeborn, which I have not, and I may still kind of see if there's got to be a poet that has some.
You would think. Yeah.
But it did make me think of, we do have a lot of writers, and I thought about Sherry Register, who has done several books, I believe 6. The most famous was The Packing House Daughter.
Yes, which turned into a play.
Turned into a play here in Albert Lake. Yep. And she was a 2-time Minnesota Book Award winner. And she was a Freeborn Countyan. Received her PhD from the University of Chicago, where she also got her bachelor's and her master's.
Nice.
And she wrote about her experience as a mother of 2 adopted Korean children. Prior to taking up writing, she taught and published work on Scandinavian, primarily Swedish, women's history and literature. Taught classes in memoir writing up at the Loft in Minneapolis, which I'm not sure if the Loft is still there, but they had, we should look at that. You would be fascinated. They had writing classes and poetry, you know, anything that you wanted to do literary wise. They offered grants and scholarships, and I think had a lending library. And Sherry was also the professor of women's studies at the University of Minnesota. And she passed away in 2018, so not that long ago, a few years ago. This is another one of her books, The Big March, the Lost Story.
Yeah.
The Story of Lost Landscapes, which is also really good. And I met her when this came out. She did a book signing for me at another historical society. But she was very supportive of the museum, financially, time-wise, and so I just felt like, she needed a little honorable mention maybe today. As a writer, yeah, and as a local writer who wrote on things that we can still relate to today.
Somebody we could sip a whiskey sour while we're reading too.
Yeah. And I don't know if you haven't read I have not read Packing House Daughter.
I haven't either. I really want to.
And everyone has said you need to read it.
Yep, I've heard that.
My dad worked at Wilson's, so technically I guess I'm a Packing House Daughter. So, and that still is a very, people are so very passionate about the packing house industry here in Freeborn. So anyway, on that note, I guess cheers.
Cheers.
And we will see you in a couple weeks.
Sounds good.